Welcome to Running It Back, the Lessons Learned from Sports podcast. I'm Mike Palmer, joined as always by Tarlin Ray. It's NBA season. The finals are nigh. Tarlin, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. You're probably surprised. I think the last time we potted was April 23rd. So we're getting a little better. We went about a 7-week stretch. Now we're 4. We're going to keep shrinking that.
Yeah.
We haven't potted in 4 weeks. So you're probably surprised that I got a story to share. First, though, I make sure the audience knows I love the warm-up act that you go through. You're a professional potter,
Yeah.
but Sally sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah.
You always sound tenor tone.
Yeah.
Everything is there. So
Yeah.
your warmer's fantastic.
It's Mimo, sibilance. Yes.
I just, my 4:30 wake up to prep and coffee. That's what I do and go. So the story, as we're in the NBA playoffs and looking at some unbelievable athletic feats, I need to tell you a story, probably a little similar for those who listen to the show and heard about the 44-mile bike ride. I want to tell you about the Great Saunter.
Right.
For those of you who are not familiar, buckle up for a minute. Palmer is I see you a little uncomfortable. You gotta let this one breathe. Okay.
Absolutely.
The Great Saunter, for those who don't know, is thrown by the nonprofit called Shore Walkers. And they started the Great Saunter 35 years ago. And the saunter is to take a 32-mile walk around the perimeter of Manhattan, starting in Battery Park. Why did it start? I have no idea. And I probably could have done more prep to look into it.
Just real quick, humans have been circumambulating for years. So if you have Manhattan as an island, at some point someone's going to say, let's circumambulate it.
Another word, I literally writing that down. But buddy, same guy, same group of guys that I went on the bike ride with that refused to tell me that they carry a grocery store in their back pockets of their shirt.
Yeah.
And are running their own nutrition game. He's a lawyer. He's in a deposition. Someone tells him about Shore Walkers. So this is October. And he's like to the text chain, hey, you guys want to do this? And all of us are in immediately. Sounds great.
Just to be clear, the deposition was not about the Great Saunter.
That's correct. And so 5 of us fly out, all live in LA, fly out. And so this is a couple weekends ago. And you live in New York.
I do.
And I have had the unfortunate enough to have traveled to New York in 2022. I've been in New York at least 12 days.
Yeah.
This is in the winter. This is early spring. And there's not a drop of water, maybe a little cold. So on the day of the Great Saunter,
right,
it is pouring. Pouring is aggressive. It's 45. It's just constantly wet.
Yeah.
And windy.
Yeah. Unpleasant.
And I leave to travel that week on a Monday from LA. I could see maybe a little rain. So I thought I was being smart. Pack a little rain jacket.
Yeah. Little windbreaker. Yeah.
Have a little coat. I might have forgotten when I was in Iceland, I was constantly wearing, those REI pants that wicks the water.
Yeah. Layer up. Yeah.
I might have forgotten those pants.
Sure.
But I said to myself, you can wear shorts. Once you get moving, it'll be warm enough. I brought some sweatpants.
Yeah.
So we get there at 7 a.m. There's no fanfare. There's 3,000. We're wearing it's like, take your button, take your number, start walking. There's no great release.
You got to stand though. You got to bib.
Like I got to bib. There's no marathon start.
Right.
And we start walking. Now we are hacking nutrition. This time I have 10 power bars.
Yeah.
I have 2 water bottles. We have electrolytes that go in water bottles. I'm wearing a backpack. I
thought you had your luggage. I thought you had you were just rolling
my roll. I missed that opportunity. That would have been so brilliant. We have Noon. Shout out to Noon. Thank you for sponsoring the show or sponsoring in the future.
Yeah.
And it's just wet. And imagine we're also on the outskirts of Manhattan, outside on the perimeter. So we're not getting any protection from the wind.
Right.
So
you're going right up the East River. And then you got.
No, we start west.
Oh, we start
on west. Start on west side.
The Hudson.
Yeah, we rather start east because east is not pretty. You'll get there. we start west, past Chelsea Piers,
Right.
all that. Now, they claim there are places to get refreshments and everything. We don't really see. We see one spot 8 miles in where they have some great apples and some water.
Okay.
And what happens when we are on this plan where you have to finish a bottle of water an hour, make sure you eat every hour. But the challenge is when you're not sweating,
Mm.
what that means is you're constantly need to pee.
Mm.
And so, sorry to I'm glad NYPD wasn't out. I peed all of the up and down.
Wow. Okay. So it's like a territorial thing. Like you're now the king of New York, basically, is what you're saying.
Dogs know I was there. So freezing cold. We get to mile 16. And I'm going to forget what's there. Like you look across the water, you can see the big sea for where the Columbia crew.
You're up at Spite and Dival.
Yeah, up there.
You're up in Inwood, Spite and Dival.
We're in Inwood. There it is. And a fantastic restaurant there where we come in. There's a couple other saunterers. So we're like, lunch is at the mile 16. We're like, oh, we're going to miss lunch. We're happy that we went to a restaurant because lunch was a U-Haul truck backing up like a turkey sandwich.
Right.
And something else. We have a great meal. The owner's there. The staff is great because we're like unpeeling wet socks.
Right.
Dry them out on top of the piano. Great meal. And then we're like, don't worry. I think the heavy stuff is over. And we turn around and it's pouring more.
Uh-huh.
So I will say that it's a 32-mile walk. And you know me with competition and finishing.
Yeah.
We did not finish the Great Saunter.
Mm.
We only got to mile 23.
Mm.
We were up in Harlem.
Mm.
We might have made another pit stop in the Applebee's.
Yeah.
Fantastic Applebee's up there where there might have been some illicit activity happening in the bathroom, but nothing to see there because we got a great appetizer sampler.
Uh-huh.
A couple things to learn. The reason we could make it, a couple of buddies, one, hands were totally swelling up, limping on the way down. There's just no chance we're going to make it. Two, don't have any alcoholic beverage. Don't have a beer if you're about to go back out in the cold because it will make your body will react in the way that you don't want it to. Because I also started shivering.
Uh-huh.
And three, I love people in Harlem. We didn't have anyone talking to us until we were rounding mile 21 and a guy could see the bib and everything. Said, what are you guys, walking? And he might have been smoking something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's legal in New York. I know it's in LA.
It's kind of decriminalized.
Great. Decriminalized. What are you guys, walking? Yeah. In the rain? Yeah. On purpose? So mile 21 was my best part of the walk.
Yeah.
Mile 23, we're out. I have 9 miles short. I'll send you the map of our walk. You can see the incompletion, which means
nice.
I and my friends have to now go back.
Yes.
And do the Great Saunter again because I can't leave anything complete.
Oh,
long story.
yeah.
I just want everyone to know I was hydrated. I didn't cramp.
Right.
I shout out to Mike Berry, Body by Berry. My trainer. I made my way. I was not sore. I stretched the right way.
Yeah.
I was overhydrated.
Yeah.
Had enough food.
And also,
we didn't want to leave a man down. When someone's hurting, we said we'll all leave together.
My takeaway is you got to dress for the weather. You got to get your gear game together, especially when it's wet and cold. And the wind, that's some tough stuff. When you said you were coming back, though, my initial thought is just to walk the last 13. Like, I do the whole.
No, we had 9 left. And also
Nine.
the east side is awful. It's like
it's nice.
Talk about, there are people cleaning on the west side. Like everyone.
West side's beautiful.
Beautifying. And it was, and this is not exaggeration, chicken bones, needles, everything you could possibly trash.
Yeah.
It was just, when you're driving in New York, you're like, oh, I wonder why is that person walking? That was us.
Yeah.
So thank you for the space.
Yeah.
Thank you to the listeners for allowing me. I learn every time I get on here. One, nutrition, 2, dress properly
for the weather.
At some point, I'm going to win, but I'm never going to give up.
Right. And I would imagine on a nice day, walking 32 miles with appropriate pit stops planned, you actually figure out what restaurant.
It'd be enjoyable.
Especially you start early enough and you finish whenever you want to finish, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Because
remember, there was no starter gun and no one was running through the tape. What everyone was doing was to get to the finish to get a piece of paper.
Right. And then to the best of our knowledge, carry on, like a little rolling luggage is okay.
Everything.
What about an umbrella? Were people walking with umbrellas?
People had umbrellas, ponchos. They were totally prepared.
Were you not using an umbrella?
No umbrella.
That's what I'm saying. See, like, it's a walk. You're walking in the rain using an umbrella. You're not an athlete. You're just a walker. Relax. Enjoy yourself.
Don't worry. I wasn't trying to get to a certain.
Were you working the elbows?
There was no elbows, although we were talking about bringing the 2-pound weights. We brought none of that. I was really just chilling.
Are there monitors making sure you don't jog?
It's like the fast walkers.
This is a saunter. Keep it together, people. Amazing story. Thank you for sharing. I mentioned it to the wife. We're looking at it perhaps. We are walkers in New York. If you're a walker in New York, walking around the island of Manhattan.
We're going to spike attendance from 2,500, 3,000 to 3,200 next year. I don't know if they'll be able to
circumnavigate with us. Absolutely. Circumnavigate. Excuse me. Great stuff. As if that's not enough. Come for the NBA finals. Stay for the story of the Saunter. I don't know how it works, but you made it this far. Thank you for listening. We're now going to talk a little more NBA because it's almost June. June is the finals. We're far enough in now. You and I have been tracking this. We've been going back and forth a little bit on text about playoffs. Playoffs? As they've been happening. We're trying to tease out some lessons learned. I did a little bit of prep here. I have some notes. I know you have some notes. Where do you want to start?
I want to make sure we're all on the same page. The prompt was lessons from the NBA season, and then how we're thinking about the playoffs. I want to make sure because I may go in a different direction.
Playoffs? Just to be clear, I'm in it here now, man. And right now, we don't even know who's going to win. It's like there's a reason to watch the games right now. They play to win
the games. Thank you, Danny. Great. Let's just set up. We know the Celtics and the Heat are in the Eastern Conference playoffs right now. Finals. Conference finals, it's been renamed, right? It's the Bob Cousy on one side, and I've just forgotten, but Mary Eileen will check for us, the Western Conference finals. And then we have the Warriors back playing against the Mavericks. So one of the things, as I was looking at those 4 teams, I just also was just looking at the year. I think the NBA, I know the NFL dominates, is the number one television show, number one bit entertainment, but the NBA dominates just culture. It's infused everywhere.
Yeah. They have many more Kardashians.
Yeah. By the way, they are a monster. They stopped one show. Yeah. And then they launched a new show on a different property.
Yeah.
Amazing family, amazing entrepreneurs, amazing business people, but so many Ks. I can't keep all the Ks together. Mm-hmm. Although Tristan and Devin, there's only 2 NBA players, right? Oh, no.
You were mentioning Ben Simmons.
But also Kim was with the dude from the Nets for...
Oh, right. That guy. What was the thing?
We'll remember him. Don't worry. I'll come back. So, NBA is about the kicks. They're the culture.
Chris Humphries, is that?
There it is. Boom. But it's the kicks. It's also what these players are wearing into the games. I'm not sure you're following.
Yeah. Fashion awards.
It's okay to wear the merce now. I mean, the man purse is aggressive. It's an aggressive. It's not a fanny pack. It is truly slung. So I can't next pod, I want you to see that because you don't want to lose your.
Well, I was a big fan of Kuzma's floppy, soft pink sweater. I thought that really sort of said something.
It's horrible. But anyways, what I run it back to is the awards season. And that's what I focused on. Yeah. At least as we were doing our tight collaboration over text. This is where I went. I was focusing on the defensive player of the year. Why don't we start there? I looked at the MVP and I also thought the rookie of the year was interesting to me, but I'll just do one. Defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart. Yeah. Only the second point guard in the last 40 years to win defensive player of the year. Yeah. So for those, let's do some stats. Mia,
just before you do that real quick, the first was Gary Payton.
I'll get the glove. Most people don't know Marcus Smart's nickname's the Cobra. If you don't know that, then it's really not your nickname. You're just Marcus Smart. Someone deep online, he's the Cobra. I'm like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
No one calls him that.
Right. Right.
So 5% of the time, point guard's been named defensive player of the year, 12.5% shooting guard, 12.5% small forward, 2.5% power forward. That's one time. And 50% of the time, it's a center.
Mm-hmm.
So I, as a former point guard, to put so much emphasis, and granted, they're the quarterback in the back and center. The center is playing, is swatting and making up for deficiencies up top. But a point guard who's on the ball, putting pressure on the general who's guiding the team, it's unbelievable to me that there aren't more point guards that have gotten this love. Mm-hmm. And now realize that until Brad Stevens, who is the general manager, former coach of the Celtics, went to the front office, and until Ime Udoka, hello, Nia Long, became the head coach, he was not even playing in his natural position that he played at Oklahoma State. And so this is the first year that they allowed him to run point. And for anyone looking at Marcus Smart, 10.5 points, 1.6 steals, 4.5 assists, 3.6 rebounds, he's a solid pro and a horrible shooter. 32% from three. And if you look at his college stats, he's shot even worse, 29%. So this is a guy you would never say, you can't wait, 3-and-D guy, he's going to score a lot of points. But the Celtics have consistently been unwilling to let this guy go because he's such a glue guy, and now is in a position to show his full complement in getting the ball to Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and also doing what he does versus playing D. So you go back to the glove. You said who was the last one to win the Defensive Player of the Year? 1995-96, unbelievable Supersonics team that lost to Jordan. Most people thought Glove in his height averaged 20 points, 8 assists, and he would stat stuff a little bit on the rebounds, but he also was a horrible shooter.
Yeah.
And so the Glove, the reason I thought it was run it back to the value that you bring to the team, the Glove was the energy, and his energy was his mouth. Mm-hmm. He would talk people out of his game. Mm-hmm. He would run and gun to lob to Sean Kemp, get the ball to Detlef Schrempf. And so for me, it was just a real parallel between the two of them, because Smart is the energy for the team with his hustle, with the hard elbow that's coming at you that no one wants to get, where he's guarding guys 5 to 6 feet taller than him and stopping them. So it's really interesting to see two guys who are broke. It's like they call Jason Kidd, Asen Kidd. Their jumpers are not pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can have an outsized influence on their team. And the Celtics, number 2 seed in the East, they went on a run in the second half of the year. So I wanted to run it back there because there's just value in not only being the highest scorer on the team, but you can dominate and control the flow based on what you can do, not only putting the ball in basket, but also defensively, because it just changes and creates a new energy and a freedom for everyone on the team. So I just wanted to run it back to Gary Payton, the glove, and focus on Marcus Smart a little bit.
I like that. And that reminds me of let me check some of my notes here. First off, I'm making a bold prediction here. I'm predicting that the Celtics will win the NBA championship. They'll beat the Warriors in 6 games. You heard it here. But the Celtics are a team that I've noticed for a long time this year. They changed. Brad Stevens moving up to the front office, bringing in Ime Udoka as the head coach. The chemistry of the team changed. Things changed. And one of the main things that happened was, in some ways, Marcus Smart was elevated to more of a leadership level. And the bigger takeaway that I'm getting from this team is that, and from this season, is that the big 2, the big 3 does not beat the big 6 or 7. If you have a team with some depth and some team first sensibility, Marcus Smart's probably closest thing to him, and Horford are probably the closest thing to like captains on that team right now.
Yep.
Like, and Horford also as another example. Now they're a big four. You're including Horford, Grant Williams. You got to include Grant Williams whether you wanted to or not. He's surprisingly critical to what they're
Robert
doing.
Williams before he got hurt.
Robert Williams, the Time Lord. And then you talk Tice, then you talk Derek White. They have a lot of ways to play together, and the way they play doesn't really change depending on who's on the bench. It's really interesting. Jaylen Brown takes over when Tatum's out. They can run different lineups at you. The thing that creates, from my perspective, you talked about defensive player of the year. The other note I had was offense wins games, defense wins championships. If your team is cohesive defensively, they are a unit. And then the thing I love about the Celtics is they are bringing that cohesion to the offensive side of the court. And on that side, it's all about shooting. The game is one of my other takeaways. Is just how the game is all about the 3-pointer, particularly in the way that the playoffs are shaping up right now. So Marcus Smart, DPOY. I didn't like the robe so much. I thought that was a little bit much. But hey, the other thing about Marcus Smart, I had it written down here, his intangibles. Kid's got mad intangibles. So
I feel like you had some shots fired when you said the big three don't matter. I feel like that if you're going to come at me about the Lakers, just say it. That's the way I interpret it.
The Lakers are the spotlight effect means it's not about you, Tarl. It is about the Lakers.
My bad.
But it's also about the Nets. It's also about the Sixers. Are there three there? I don't know. It's tough to count. Tobias Harris, I'm not sure.
But there's the Sixers chasing stars.
Right. And also the Maxey, I guess they're saying is the third player, but there's this notion.
No, I'm saying chasing Harden though.
Right, for sure. My point though is more the big three started when LeBron took his talents to South Beach, although there were other big threes before then. Since then, the track record of those super teams has been probably disappointing relative to the number of championships you would initially expect from them. There are a lot of misses along the way. And I'd say lately, as we go through this generational shift in the NBA, it's been more of a detriment. You're paying older players probably more than they're worth at this point. Sorry, Russ. And it's then impacting your ability to round out the team with more depth. So I think it's becoming more of a weak link league rather than a strong link league, where it's not about your best player or your best two. It's about, is your fourth or fifth player providing some special energy, something that maybe isn't going to show up in the stat sheet. And when I look at that, I see the Celtics as being much better than what else I see out there in terms of their size, their defensive intensity, and their ability to shoot. They got to knock out a champion in Steph Curry. So don't you ever underestimate the heart of a champion. Mama, there goes that man. But that's my response to the DPOY conversation.
So I don't hate the pick. I hate having to consider it as a diehard Laker fan.
Yeah.
Lifelong Celtics hater. 15 years of my life in enemy territory.
Yeah.
I've said for years, I wish not only we had Stevens as a coach when he was coaching them up, but I actually love the moves that he's done as a general manager. They're long, they play together, and when they're missing, they can still get stops. So I do have the Celtics getting out of the Eastern Conference, and that's a battle. And Clay is not Clay right now. Jordan Poole for Golden State he's just otherworldly right now coming off the bench. That's a great finals. I think Golden State has the home court. So you would have the Celtics winning at home in game 6. Not a bad call. I do want to go to the super team because I mentioned MVP and I was going to talk rookie of the year, but I do want to talk about Luka and its connection to LeBron.
And also shout out to Suzanne Vega while you're at it. My name is Luka. I live on the second floor. Please continue.
Sing it next time. Don't just shout it out. Come on.
That's premium content.
Okay. We've talked about the super teams. Everyone gives LeBron so much crap. He's the second leading scorer. He probably will go down as leading scorer in NBA history as someone who does not look to shoot first. But LeBron is the only one that's won a super team, a championship building super teams.
The Warriors, when they got KD.
I guess there it is. I missed the KD 2 year. So it's Steph, KD, and LeBron. LeBron on his own that's only done it. LeBron, we have sold our soul to win that one championship.
Yeah.
And now we're in purgatory as the Lakers with no young stars coming up. Not necessarily, it's like a farm system. We don't necessarily have a farm system because there are a bunch of guys on 1-year contracts. And LeBron is 37. I do want to focus on Luka because Luka is a guy who's in his 4th year in the league, drafted 3rd. If most remember, it was the Trae Young Luka swap. Luka, a rookie of the year, 3-time All-NBA after that. So he has been prolific, 46 triple doubles. He took his team in the Olympics to the semis. Most said he showed up then this year fat. It was fat Luka. And he has taken a team that was supposed to have the other star in Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn. KP was supposed to take him to the promised land. Most followed, but during a lot of trading happening in the NBA, Mavs traded Kristaps and others to the Wizards to pick up Spencer Dinwiddie and David Bertans. For those deep roto and fantasy players, Bertans 2 years ago went off from 3. It was just awful last year. So I had him on my team for a hot second. And Bertans, you did to me now. Never happened again. But what's happening now, and I was just trying to look at Luka, and part of it is because LeBron James says things for a reason. His favorite player to watch is Luka. Because Luka, similar to who is going to be the next Jordan, Luka is LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the same style. It is not the same physicality. But in the same way, LeBron, known as a kid, King James, LBJ, the chosen one, Bron, L Train. Luka has his Luka Legend, Too Easy, Luka Magic, Swaggy L.
Also Luka Cobra? No, that's someone else. I'm sorry.
That's the Cobra.
Right.
No, he just goes by Marcus Smart. But Luka, in his 4th year, very similar stats to LeBron. 28 points, 8.7 assists, 9 rebounds, shooting about 35% from 3, 45% field goal. LeBron, similar, 27 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 70% free throw, 47% field goal. Both in their 4th year, LeBron took a team that was laden with talent. Shannon Brown, Drew Gooden, Larry Hughes, Damon Jones, Daniel Marshall, Zydrunas Ilgauskas. The top 3 salaries on that team. LeBron was in his 4th year and went to the finals when they lost to Spurs. Oh, sorry, I forgot Anderson Varejao.
Yeah.
Where Larry Hughes was the highest paid player, and then LeBron was 4th. And so LeBron took a team of guys who are professionals, but none of them, maybe Z.
Yeah.
Z made an all-star team, but no one was a perennial all-star.
Yeah.
They played their roles. And LeBron just took a group of guys and made a run. We're watching the same thing right now with Luka. And as I mentioned, David Bertans, he's not getting deep run. Jalen Brunson, who I love, who won 2 championships for Villanova, so he's a winner, but was overlooked because of his size, a lefty. He's a dog. Like, he's coming at you. You're surprised that he has a little spring, but he's not an all-star. He's going to make some money this year. And yes, I had him on my Roto League. You did great for me this year, Jalen Brunson. My 1st year in that Roto League type, I got 3rd place, got my money back. Spencer Dinwiddie, who was on the dumpster pile because he thought it was bad for the Wizards.
It's really good dude density, though.
Oh, it's great. Tim Hardaway Jr., who's hurt.
Yeah.
Boban, I can't say Bobbin, and Tobias Harris and Bobbin. He's like 7'4". I can't pronounce his last name.
Don't snooze on an ex-Nick D and 3 and D. Ex-Nick 3 and D, Bullock.
Bullock's there playing tight. And Dwight Powell. Professionals, no all-stars on that team. And they're making a run and playing hard. So what I'm running it back to is this is to your point about having 3 stars and stacking your team. You can have great chemistry. You can make runs around transcendent stars. And that's what Luka is. So LeBron is passing the mantle to Luka, 6'7", 240. No one plays the guard position like Luka does. And he's only 23, and we can see him doing it for the next 10 years. So you mentioned LeBron.
Yeah.
Briefly, you mentioned super teams. I'm running it back because just watching Luka, it just have so much more respect. The Mavs are playing the same game they did with Dirk. They have some guys. They had Jason Kidd late in his career, Jason Terry doing his helicopter or whatever, his plane, whenever he hit a 3.
Mm-hmm.
They were not stacked with studs. They were stacked with people who play their role. And it's a very similar blueprint right now. I don't believe the Mavs are going to get out of the Western Conference, but mad respect for Luka. And it just changes the way I look at him. He's not everyone's looking for the next Jordan. He's not the next LeBron, but he's passing mantle where Luka will make runs with anyone for a long time because he's just that good.
Interesting. I had Luka notes here too. I think for me, the problem with Luka is, remember I mentioned offense wins games, defense wins championships. Luka, unlike LeBron,
can't guard a soul.
Arguably a defensive liability. Is that even debatable? He's certainly not a lock. He's no DPOY. He's no defensive player of the year. And that's why I do think on that side of the court, he'll be exposed. He's just so transcendent as an offensive player. It's why the matchup in the West right now between him and Steph is kind of similar in that Steph's obviously more just a shooter, but in terms of scoring and being really an offense first player, I think they're similar that way. My takeaway from the Mavericks and also the Miami Heat is that roster construction around a player or two can get you pretty far. I think it's more about the depth of your roster construction, which again speaks to the Al Horfords, I mentioned Jay Crowder. The other story I wanted to get to, the other topic I wanted to get to beyond also Luka showing up overweight when you're 23 is very different from showing up overweight when you're 33, James. I don't know how old is, we'll get a research deal on James Harden's age. While we're talking age, let's talk about 37-year-olds. You mentioned LeBron James. There's another 37-year-old out there named Chris Paul playing for best regular season record, Phoenix Suns, him and Devin Booker. The atrocity that they created for us or didn't create. They chose not to play. You play to win the game. You must protect this house. Game 7, the Suns are playing at home. We try to run things.
Did you just go from Dennis Green to Under Armour commercial?
I do what I can. We have to witness. We're all witnesses. LBJ, we have to witness what I would argue.
By the way, people don't realize the deep cuts. The witness is the poster or the billboard, LeBron billboard. I just want to make sure when people are listening to Mike speak, you have to rewind,
right?
Because it's the subtleties,
right?
And the references that you may not get the first time.
Right.
So keep going. Sorry, it's like watching Unusual Suspects right now.
Right. And we'll be talking about Running It Back Premium, where as a member of the Running It Back tribe, you get access to more.
Explain all the references.
The
practice.
Annotations will be prodigious.
And also the dictionary. Keep going.
The debacle in Phoenix. Best team in the regular season. There was folks were thinking they might win the championship. They got real close last year, lost to Milwaukee. Also, shout out to Giannis, where I felt like if they had Middleton, I'm not sure who would have won that series. And the way Giannis is performing is a takeaway for me, where I can't really think of a player like Giannis, and I can't think of a debacle like Game 7, where they didn't just lose, they were embarrassed on their home court. And the Warriors were not embarrassed in Memphis. Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. That was crazy. So, like, losing, if you're going to get spanked on the road. You got to protect this house. And when it's Game 7, you got to show up. Even last night, the Warriors were down at the half. They were down 20 points in the first half. I didn't think they were going to lose that game. I thought they would at least make it competitive. They would lose. They were going to show that competitive fire at the end. My other takeaway from this year is, like, what's up with Phoenix? Just like I can't think of a corollary to Giannis, a historical corollary. I can't think of a historical corollary to blowing Game 7 as a favorite on your home court. What's up with your Suns?
Yeah, I'll own it. As a Laker fan, I'm a diehard Laker fan, but I am an unapologetic Chris Paul fan. And I tried, I stayed away because I was hoping that you were not going to bring up the Suns. So I refused to try to map to a Game 7 debacle and all. I did not. But what I will say was I was just sad because something happened that none of us will know on that team. Mm-hmm. Reason I bring it up is they have clips of, you should go to YouTube, of the pregame from the Suns and how similar to what the Bucks did a couple of years ago with the Lopez twins. They're pretending to do WrestleMania. They so connected to each other. JaVale McGee and others really hyping up and creating a choreography and various handshakes to just be together. And they were together through a very long regular season. They're connected through one of the best leaders in the league and Monty Williams, who's coach of the year. They had Chris Paul, who can grate on people, but had found a way to have like-minded and speak to people without people taking it the wrong way, including Devin Booker, who just wanted to get better. Something happened that we don't know. Ayton only played 17 minutes. He was disgruntled. They were not playing for each other, and something happened. Now, we also say there was Paul, which no one will be surprised by, was nursing an injury that they didn't disclose. Fine. He only took 8 shots. It's like Harden taking no shots and the game would all let them carry through. But what I worry more about, I care more about is, as a leader, what happened that Chris Paul, I'm putting on Chris Paul and Monty, could not bring everyone together when it was that big a deal, when they had bled for each other into the finals last year, and I expected them to be in the Western Conference Finals. So I own. We have a pod that says we talk about the point guard. I argue with my dad, Chris Paul never won any championships. I'm like, so the only measure of a pro is whether or not they won a championship. I just think that's wrong. He has been a dominant point guard, and maybe it's because I wish I had that game, that moxie, that ability to control. I don't mind the punkishness because at times people may call me a punk, but it's in a nice way. So I love the fire, but something happened and they broke. And right. To forget everything else, you don't get blown out unless you broke. They were broken mentally and they were no longer working together as a team. And we're never gonna know. So I thank you. You took shots at me about the super team and you were passive. I'm glad you weren't being passive aggressive. You just punched me in the face. And now you want to see, I'm going to let everyone know I'm still sad.
Wow. There you go. And for me, we may know, I'm still not convinced. There won't be more coming out about Robert Sarver and the report that's pending, the owner of the Suns, whether there is something following Chris Paul running it back to his experiences with the Clippers, if you lose the ownership, there are reports of him being racist and running an organization that is problematic. The NBA is investigating. You do wonder whether something is going on there. And then the other data point that was interesting, which maybe more will come out about, is the incident in Dallas when Chris Paul's family was being assaulted in some way,
Harassed.
some kid was trying to hug them. Like, what was actually going on there? It felt like something was off. And it is a reminder that there is a difference between a regular season team and then a team that can really respond in the playoffs. And to me,
You say Utah Jazz? Sorry, go on.
but it did come back to me, and maybe a credit also to Jason Kidd, that the level of defensive intensity that Dallas was bringing was what won that game. And when Dallas wins, similarly to when Golden State wins, they're playing good defense and it's not about their best player. And I feel like when the Mavs are bringing that defensive intensity, it's not about Luka. And that to me is really good coaching and also good roster construction, which I think you are seeing the teams that are still there. The one that I haven't talked about is Jimmy Buckets, which is almost hard to talk about, where he is a force of nature. He still may somehow heroically lift this team. To me, the Jimmy Buckets is probably closest to a LeBron kind of team. LeBron in Cleveland reminds me a little bit of Jimmy and the Heat, except they have Coach Spo and they're playing defense. So to me,
They also have Bam Adebayo.
yeah, sure. I'd like it if he would show up in this series. He hasn't really done anything yet, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. This is where the wheat is separated from the proverbial chaff, Tarlin. So I got a little bit biblical. We've been free forming. Are there any other notes you wanted to hit on? Father Time is still undefeated. I just wanted to remind you of that. You can't coach height, and the Celtics are tall.
Or length, Jay Billis.
The generational torch has not been passed yet. But keep an eye on a potential Warriors Celtics series where is Steph ready to pass the torch to Jason and crew. Generational zeitgeists abound. Concluding thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll close with, take a look at the black coaches. And I know we've talked about the Rooney Rule. The NFL has to manufacture ways to look at diverse populations of coaches and give individuals a chance. Jason Kidd, one of the conference final coaches. We have diversity in Spoelstra. Ime Udoka.
Mhm.
Monty Williams, even though he got bounced, but was a finalist last year. Willie Green, taking a team that was in the dumpster in New Orleans Pelicans and making that competitive. They had a chance to beat the Suns without Zion.
Mhm.
And Luka needs to call Zion to tell him how he lost weight beginning of the year. And I blame Joker for not putting Zion on his diet plan.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that talent and ability to lead a team should not be, and we talk about, is it the CEO of the team? That's the way the NFL executive make a decision about who's going to be their coach. It should not be because it's who they've seen as a CEO or a coach in the past. I have seen some unbelievable coaching ability and in-game adjustments, especially when the Mavs were down 0-2 and still came back to beat the Suns. So just please, across the board, immediately shout at the NFL, just take a look at what these individuals can do. Past players. Willie Green was a 2003 draft pick, second round. I was doing some deep cuts looking at LeBron James draft year, but I just want to make sure we leave space and let the NBA continue to be a model. I was thinking about that because also I want to end and make sure that we give some love to the Buffalo community and the individuals that lost their life in that horrific incident last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And for the community that lost their local grocery store, that now is going to be having to travel long distances to get the fresh produce. It's now become part of like a food desert. So the trauma that communities have to go through is unparalleled. And so we talk about now, but they live with it for a long time. So that's just been on my mind. Love that the fact that the NBA continues to be a model for diversity and giving more folks a chance. And I think in a time of struggles and challenges like in Buffalo, you can look to and turn on the tube and use it as a source of inspiration.
Awesome. Tarlin, it's always good to see you. We covered a lot in this conversation. I appreciate the Buffalo note at the end. Thanks again for joining, Tarlin.
Peace out.
We'll be back
Soonish.
Let us know what you're thinking. Hit us up at Running It Back FM on Twitter. Website is runningitback.fm. This is Running It Back.